Hey guys, this is Dave from 2021 Training. Just putting together a quick little video here to help you guys through your Texas Insurance Adjuster application with the Texas Department of Insurance. A lot of you guys have taken the class and it's time to fill out that application, but there's a little bit of confusion of how to fill these things out, so wanted to help you guys out here. What we're going to do is start here by going to the Texas Department of Insurance. So if everybody could go to www.tdi.texas.gov. All right, here we are, guys. This is the home page for Texas Department of Insurance. What we're going to be looking for here is the agent button. The agent and the adjuster stuff is usually put together on their website, and so we're going to look for where they have agent. You see insurance and HMO right here in the left column of this three-column grouping here, and we want to click on agent. So once we click on agent, we see a drop-down list on the left-hand side here. And currently, probably the easiest way to find this is under agent forms. As with any government website, there's probably 5 different links and 5 different ways to get there. Some are a little bit more confusing than others. But we'll go directly to the agent forms here. Once you select that, you're going to get this nice little table at the bottom of the different forms that they have. Currently, as of 2014, they just updated this form. I believe it is in March of 2014. It's the FIN 506. Now, they've changed these numbers from time to time throughout the course of time, but understand that what you're looking for is the licensing individual application for insurance license. So we'll go ahead and click here. It's going to open up a PDF. One of the things you need to understand, though, is this is an application that's used for all types of things. It's not just for insurance adjusters, it's for insurance agents, and you can see here at the license types in part 1. So this is a multi-use application that you're only going to need to fill out certain parts of. So we're going to walk you through that a little bit. First thing, though, is it tells you about there's a guide on page 11. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down and we're going to go to page 11 just to show you something here. So let's get down to page 11, and like I said, this is a long application. And here's page 12, and it really starts right at the bottom of top of page 12 on this one. What we're looking for is this table, and every application, then every revision I've ever seen of this application has had this table in the back somewhere. What we're looking for here is what we need to fill out on the application. And what we're showing on this is the adjuster all lines, chapter 4101, and adjuster property and casualty. So basically it's showing us as an adjuster what we're going to need to fill out as part 1, part 2, part 7, and part 8. All the other stuff in the application we can ignore. So let's go back up to the beginning of the application and start from the beginning. All right, here we go. So let's look at the first section. The first thing we need to do in part 1 is select what type of license we are trying to get. Now, the vast majority of you are looking for the adjuster all lines license. If you took an all lines course, this is what you're going to select. Some of you have selected to take a property and casualty course, which is very similar to the all lines with the exception it does not include workers' comp. But for the courses at 2021 Training, you always look at your course certificate and it'll tell you exactly what you got, whether it's an adjuster all lines or adjuster property and casualty. And these need to match what your certificate says because you're going to send your certificate in with your application. All right, so remember, you can only select one selection in part 1 here at the license type. So if you live in Texas, you're going to either be selecting the all lines or the property and casualty. But if you look at the second and third from the bottom, you're going to see adjuster all lines designated home state and adjuster property and casualty designated home state. If you live in another state such as Texas or as Colorado who doesn't do licensing, you're going to be using Texas as your designated home state. So in those instances, you wouldn't use the ones above. You're going to use the ones below that are titled just the same. All lines designated home state or property and casualty designated home state. So make sure if you're out of state, you're choosing one of the two at the bottom for the designated home state. If you're in Texas, you're choosing one from the top, either the property and casualty or the all lines as discussed. Right below there, you see the licensing fees. Licensing fees are $50 per license. So that's what you're going to need to send in as a check. And, pay attention here. What it says, make check or money order payable to the Texas Department of Insurance. They're non-refundable, non-transferable. So you do need a $50 check. It's written to the Texas Department of Insurance that you're going to include with your application. So once we've selected the license type, we're going to go down and look at the applicant information. Number one, pretty self-explanatory. Last name, first name, middle name, a suffix. Use your legal name here. No nicknames, no shortened abbreviations. Write your full legal name just as you use on your driver's license and other legal documents. Number two, your social security number, date of birth, daytime phone number. Next, it's going to ask you on number 3 and 4 for for mailing addresses. On number 3, this can be any address that you choose to get mail at. It can be a P.O. box. It does not have to be a physical location, but it's where you want to receive information and notices from the Texas Department of Insurance. Look at number 4 then. Number 4 must be your physical address where you live. This cannot be a P.O. box or anything of that nature, but it must be your physical location. Okay, let's look at number 5. It says official business address. This is a required field, so even if you don't have a business, what it's asking you is where you're going to be conducting business. As an independent contractor, you represent yourself and you work for yourself, so your home address is your business address. If you by chance work for State Farm or some other insurance company, that would be your address. But as an independent contractor, what you're going to do is you're going to put in your home address here. Number 6, applicant's email address. Self-explanatory. Texas Department of Insurance will correspond with you via email, and you want to be able to have an email address that you actually check and you will be able to get those notices from. Okay, let's look at number 7. Number 7 is where we start getting into criminal background of your past. And it's going to ask you whether you've had any type of misdemeanor or felony charges, excluding traffic violations and first offense DWI. So what you're going to do is you have to answer these truthfully. Just go through, have you had any pending misdemeanor, convicted, adjudication deferred? Have you ever served any period of probation? Now pay attention to what it says under here. If you answer yes to any of the questions on number 7, you must submit original certified copies of the charging documents, indictment information, or any other charging document. So what this means is if you've been convicted or had any issue with any of these in your past, you need to go to the court in which this took place. You need to get certified originals that you can submit with your application. And it says you must include your age at times of the offenses, and you may provide letters of recommendation from any person in contact with you that is aware of your criminal past. And this is one of the things. It says you may, and I highly recommend that you do this if you do have this in your past. What they're looking for is judge of character. A lot of people ask, I have a felony in my background. Does that mean I can never become an insurance adjuster? Absolutely not. What that means is that it'll be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Texas Department of Insurance does not have any black or white method of calling these. What they do is they say we look at them on a case-by-case basis. So your best option is to include all the materials you can, comply with it fully, and then get your letters of recommendation from persons that will vouch for you and send that in along with your application. Moving on to number 8. Have you ever applied for letter consent as required under Section 18 USC 1003? Now I've pulled that up here and just want to make sure you guys understand this is Section C. So let's scroll down here. And this talks about fraud within the insurance business. And 99% of you know beyond a shadow of a doubt this is not something you have to worry about. You're fully aware if it is. And like I said, if yes, you will not be able to get your application. Otherwise, you go ahead and select no. And understand that on these forms, just like I selected here, you're able to fill this out online before you print it. This form is required to be typed or printed, and so the easiest thing is just to select and answer these on the PDF before you print it out. Number 9, have you or has any corporation, partnership, or firm which you were a director, officer, shareholder, so on and so forth, had any legal action filed by Texas or any other insurance department? Number 10, asking you if you're indebted to any policy holder, insurance, reinsurance company, and so on and so forth. So pretty straightforward questions. Just go through and answer. And you get down to number 12. In the past 6 months, have you ever applied for or received a temporary license? So if yes, if you answer yes, a temporary license will not be issued, but we're not trying to get a temporary license here. We're filling this out to get a permanent license. But you do have to go ahead and answer these questions. Do you currently hold any adjuster insurance agent license, adjusting or public insurance adjuster license in any state other than Texas within the last 5 years? So you select appropriately. If you answer yes, you have to give them the following information. Applicants who have held resident license in another state with previous 5 years from the date of application must attach a clearance letter. And this can be done if you go onto the state's website and show that your license was taken away based on your move. And so that's easy to show. But you do not have to get necessarily a letter from the state showing that. You can do that from their website in most cases, just by giving a printout of your status there. So moving down to number 14, the application for this license I previously held is expired more than 90 days but less than 1 year. This is for people who have let their license lapse and they're paying a fee now because they've gone past the normal renewal date, and so now that's a $75 fee to reinstate your license. So as a new applicant, obviously you're going to be selecting no on this. This is new that they've added now, number 15, qualifying, they're asking military information. So just answer these based on your military experience, if any. And it says, note, if you answer yes to A, B, or C in question 15, please mark the top of the front page of this application with a highlighted M. So they're just wanting to know if you have military experience. I don't know exactly what they're doing with that information, if your license gets submitted quicker or what the reasoning is there. But anyway, let's move on. Remember we had to fill out parts 1, 2, 7, and 8. All right, now let's look at part 2, which is the required section that we need to fill out as adjusters. This one's pretty straightforward and easy. The first thing we need to do is, number 1, the firm or insurer with whom they will be employed, or if self-employed, with the applicant's name. So as an independent adjuster, you are self-employed. So simply put your name just as you stated on the application earlier. Use your full legal name there. Now we come down to number 2 and 3. This is really all we have to fill out here. And as an individual, you're going to either fill out 2 or 3. You will not be filling out both. So what we need to look for here, and I've already selected this, is number 2. I've qualified for adjuster license selected on page 1 and here's your first selection, attached a course certificate of completion certifying that within the past 12 months I completed a Texas adjuster pre-licensing education program and passed its examination. By having the course certificate at the end of the class, that means that you have qualified for this, and you will attach a copy of that with your license. So if you are in Texas looking for a Texas license, this is what you're going to attach. Number 3 is for people who live outside of Texas. Say you live in Colorado and you're applying for your non-resident designated home state Texas license. So here's what you do. You fill out number 3. You would not fill out number 2, but in number 3, Basically, it's the same statement. I have qualified for the Texas Adjuster Designated Home State license, and I'm attaching a certificate. So same wording as it was in the previous section, except you're filling it out in number 3 if you are not from the state of Texas. That really finishes up section 2. All the other things do not apply to you folks. So let's go ahead and go to the next section. All right, we're down to section 7. Remember, we only had to fill out parts 1, 2, 7, and 8. Part 7 is talking about your background information and fingerprints. Usually they do background checks based on your fingerprints with the state you're from, and this is by far the easiest way to take care of the requirements. If you are from Texas, you have 2 choices. You can either go get your electronic fingerprints, or if you have already submitted your license for like a insurance agent and they already have your fingerprints, you have the ability to reference that here and they can just use the same fingerprints. But most of you will need to go to the Identigo here. Look at option A is what the majority of us will be using. You need to go to the Identigo by MorphoTrust USA, and they will send you to a location, get electronic fingerprints, and what they give you in return is a receipt. The receipt is what you're going to be submitting with your application that shows that you got your prints and how they can reference those out of the system. And we'll go over that a little bit at the end. There's instructions at the end of the form of how to get your fingerprints done. None of the things in number 2 apply for us because it says adjuster designated home state. Applicants skip to number 3. So remember, number 1 is if you live in Texas. I am a resident of Texas. So any of you guys who live outside of the state of Texas and you're using this license as a designated home state, you go directly to number 3. Number 3 says, I am a non-resident of Texas applying for a designated home state license. And you have the same options as we had in number 1. You need to go get your electronic fingerprints, and they have locations all over the U.S. So even if you live in Colorado, you should be able to find a somewhat convenient location to get that done, and they will give you a receipt for it. You get your receipt and you submit it with your application. So that takes care of part 7. Let's look at part 8 now. This is the last one we need to fill out. Basically, this is just a form that you need to get notarized. And you can read the statement here, basically saying, I understand that you can have access to all my information and so on and so forth. But basically, all you need to do here is scroll to the bottom. This is where you go ahead and I would fill out the section for the legal name. Go ahead and type those. And then you can fill out the state of Texas, I'm in Collin County, for instance. And then the rest of it, you're going to leave blank, and you're going to print out your application as you have it here. Because what you're going to do is you need to go down and get it notarized. Go down to your local bank is usually the easiest way to do that, but find a notary that can notarize this application for you. And this is going to need to be done in front of them, so you're not going to be able to type it all on the application, but they will fill it out once you get there. So that's really all there is here. Let's go ahead and look at, we're back down at the back where we see the general information. Just according to the table, we filled out part 1, part 2, part 7, and part 8. Where do we send the application to? Now here's what we have here. Texas Department of Insurance, Agent and Adjuster Licensing, MC 107-1A, P.O. Box 12069, Austin, Texas, 78711-2067. So always on your application, it's going to tell you exactly where to mail it. And remember, you have to submit the $50 fee along with your application. Let's go find where it talks a little bit about fingerprinting. On this application, it's the very last page, on page 14. So it tells you a little bit about how to get your application. It gives you a website link of where you can go. The website Identigo, IDENTOGO, and you can call them to schedule your appointment. It does notate here that it's a $41.45 fee to get that done. That is something you'll be required to do. Schedule your appointment and get your receipt. All right, so that completes our application process. So here's the things you need to send in. Of course, you need to send in your application. You need to send in your check for the application fees, which at this time is $50. You need to send in the certificate of completion from your pre-licensing course, whether it was the all lines of the property and casualty, the certificate you got from your instruction there needs to be included with the application. Also, you're going to have your receipt from your fingerprints. And then lastly, if there's any other documentation based on some of the other questions that you need to send in, make sure you include that. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much what you need. I appreciate your time, and I hope this is helpful to you. Thanks a lot.